Oh, hey there. It's me, your favorite purple-haired Dracula. Well, guys, let's see what we're gonna talk about today. Let's see what it's gonna be. Hopefully it's not sports again, man. I don't know if I can take sports again. Okay, this is a long question. I already know this one. I already know what this one's gonna be. Okay. This question comes from the Discord, my Discord, discord.gg slash Nisei Namasama Rama, whatever it is. It's in the description of the video, I'm sure. This video comes from my Discord, and it asks, why do I like sitting and doing things from the floor? Also, I'm transgender. I don't know what the second part of that question has anything to do with the rest of it, but let's go ahead and tackle this. So, why do you like sitting and doing things on the floor? Well, you see, it's because when you're on the floor, you are more in touch with the earth and Mother Nature herself. And it allows your brain waves to flow more freely than they would standing up. Also, this is because the core of the earth, the magnetic radiation of the earth, there's a diagram of it. It does like a little parabola and then another parabola, you know? Uh it's stronger closer to the ground. I don't know if you know anything about the I don't know what it's called. In my mind I'm thinking it's called the inverse square law. I don't think that's what it is, but basically the closer you are to something, the stronger its effect is on you. Maybe you've heard of gravity. It's a very similar concept to gravity. Yes, I am a scientist. You're just gonna have to believe me on that. You can see my credentials probably somewhere. Go ahead and look me up. I'm sure you'll find my credentials. But anyways, all that to say, your brain waves coincide with the vibrations of the core of the earth. So, when you really think about it, the closer you are to the core, the better. That's why people love digging holes. You see, people have this like innate fascination with digging holes. I know personally. So when I was a kid, I really liked the movie and book Holes, where they were tasked. If you've never seen the film, the kids are they're like juvenile delinquents, and they've been tasked to, instead of going to jail, going out into the desert, and they have to dig a hole every single day that is 5 feet wide, 5 feet the other wide, and then it's like a 5 foot circumference is basically what I'm saying, and then 5 feet deep. And there's this one kid who can dig faster than anyone else, and it's really impressive because he also doesn't talk. All he does is dig. And the camp counselor, who you're supposed to kind of like him at the beginning, but then you realize that he's just like a gigantic bully. And actually, it's the guy that's the curmudgeon, and the guy that you're supposed to hate, that's the guy you're actually supposed to like. And then it turns out that that kid was also some kind of witch or something, and he needed to be carried up the mountain by Stanley Yelnats. And yes, that is also Stanley Yelnats backwards. That's a whole thing in the movie. He's a witch, and he has to be carried up by the Stanley Yelnats character played by Shia LaBeouf, most notably known these days for being a crazy person. But back then he was just a kid, and he was also, was he Even Stevens? What show was he on? Was it Even Stevens? I don't remember. Anyways, he has to take him up the mountain and let him drink from the fountain of youth, or whatever it was that was on the top of that mountain. And then once he did that, it rained. The witch's power was undone. The hex was undone, and it rained in the desert for the first time in 10,000 years. And it was very awesome and amazing and loved by all, because you see, that place used to be a lake, and then something happened with there. It was like a really big deal that somebody wanted to have an interracial marriage, and this was in the time of the United States where that was a really bad thing, and you shouldn't. I mean, it's saying you shouldn't do that is definitely wrong. You should be allowed to do that. I'll go ahead and say you should be allowed to do that. But anyways, he got something bad happened to him. I'm not going to say that word because I'm sure that the YouTube algorithm does not like it. And then that lady, she got really mad, and what did she do? She like buried a treasure or something, I think, because she became an outlaw and she killed everyone that she came across. And then she buried a treasure, and that's why they're digging the holes. It's, well, okay, so the first reason they're digging the holes is obviously because of humans' fascination with digging holes, getting closer to the center of the earth. Therefore, their brainwaves are more powerful, and they have more intense and not erotic, intense thoughts. They have more intense and clear thoughts the closer you are to the center of the earth. That's why people like digging holes. But she dug a hole mainly to bury the treasure, and then it turns out that the kids aren't really doing it to get more character. It's because the camp leader, she wants the treasure. For some reason, her grandpa really wanted it. And then she said, I'm tired of digging, Grandpa. And then he said, well, that's too damn bad. And I really liked that. I really liked that line in the movie. But anyways, this only extrapolated my fascination with digging. And me and my cousin and my brother, we started digging holes out in my backyard. I don't remember how old I was, but we started digging holes out in the backyard every day. And my parents were really not happy about that. I mean, can you imagine if you had kids and they just started digging gigantic holes in the backyard? And by gigantic, like, can I just say I was a little kid and the best I could do was probably like, I don't know, it wasn't 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep is all I'm saying. It was more like 1.5 foot deep and maybe a foot wide. I mean, it's still quite impressive, all things considered, but, you know, I wasn't exactly breaking any records or anything, or even really building any character. I was just mostly ruining my parents' garden. That they were really mad at us for digging specifically in the garden, not necessarily for digging in the backyard, but for digging specifically in the garden, because they were acting like they were going to use that garden. But you got to understand that at this point in my life, they had already not used the garden for like, I don't even know, 3 or 4 years. They pretended like they were going to plant plants in the garden one time years prior to this. And then they didn't take care of them, and all of the plants died. Fast forward, they're mad at us for digging in the yard, which, I mean, that's fair. But they mostly were like, now we're never going to be able to dig. Now we're never going to be able to plant plants in the garden. What the heck, man? Why would you do that? Why would you do this? And they were really upset at us. And they wanted us to fill in the holes, but we didn't know really how to do that without just making more holes. I don't know what happened because, you know, we displaced the dirt. I don't know whatever happened to the dirt, actually, now that I think about it. It must have just been right next to it, but, I mean, we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure it out for the life of us. So, maybe not to this day because they actually tore down my house from when I was a little kid, and they built a whole, like, housing complex. I lived out in the middle of nowhere. That was a whole other thing also. Why were they so mad at us for digging holes in the backyard? We lived out in the middle of nowhere. Who cares that there were holes in the backyard? But anyways, they tore the whole place down, and now there's like a whole housing complex because the city moved outwards, and now it's encroached on that space. And it's kind of sad, you know? Like, every time I go home, it's a little sad to drive to where your house used to be, and now it's unrecognizable. It's really kind of sad, you know, when you think about it. I don't know how often that happens to people, that their childhood home just gets demolished and then completely revamped into something that is not even recognizable anymore. I don't know, man. It's kind of sad to think about it. But anyways, as to your question, person from my Discord, that's why you like sitting and doing things on the floor, because you like your brain waves work better closer to the floor. Also, gravity is better closer to the floor. And also, you know, we didn't have chairs for our entire existence, you know. Kids, or not kids, well, kids also, but humans have been around for what, like, I don't even know, thousands of years at this point. Maybe even longer than that. But I mean, we didn't have chairs for that entire time. I feel like sitting on the ground is more of our natural state of being than sitting in chairs, even though sitting in chairs is much better for your back, I have to assume. And for your knees. Every time I sit on the ground, man, my knees hurt so bad. I'm not really that old, but man, my knees hurt so bad when I sit on the floor.